We're going to start the meeting with a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence for our soldiers. Okay, thank you. Welcome to the Fairfield Glade board members, Mr. Weber, candidates, and you, the most important people, property owners. Today's town hall meeting will be for the candidates seeking one of the two open positions for at-large director. This is their opportunity to express their views and answer questions submitted by you, the property owners. My name is Doug Naraki, and I will be your host tonight. This entire session will be videotaped. So if any of you in the back can't hear an answer or you think it's too crowded and you must leave, it will be on the Fairfield Glade website next week. This is a very unique election. We have a number of firsts. This is the first time we have had 9 candidates. It is the first time the town hall meeting has gone over 2 days. We have received over 80 questions from the property owners, the highest ever. And the property owners will have a chance during this election to use electronic balloting or paper ballots. I want to read a statement regarding electronic balloting. Fairfield Glade Community Club has partnered with Surveys and Ballot System, SBS, to administer the 2017 election using their direct vote system. You will be receiving your vote instructions via email from nonreply@directvote.net on August 1st. To assure that you receive this email, simply add the following address as an approved sender. Again, it's nonreply@directvote.net. If you do not receive an email by the 2nd of August, call support@directvote.net. Voters using paper ballots should receive their ballot shortly after August 1st. Use the envelope provided for all ballots must be returned and postmarked no later than August 31st. At the beginning of today's session, each candidate will be given 3 minutes to introduce themselves and to let you know why they want to run for a position. Because of the large number of questions, we want to ask as many as possible in 2 days. This means that tonight's questions will be different, maybe similar, but different than tomorrow's. Questions are being read as submitted. So if the language doesn't sound right, I'm reading them just as they are submitted. The timekeeper tonight is Neil Donovan, who is a member of the election board. His job is to keep track of the time tonight. During the introduction statements, Neil will ring the bell to notify candidates that they have 3 seconds remaining. Neil, want to ring the 30 seconds remaining? Okay. They got to talk fast that last 3 seconds. During questioning, each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer their question. Neil will ring the bell at the 1 minute and 30-second mark. Again, he will signify when that's only 30 seconds remaining. At the 2-minute mark, Neil will ring the bell twice. The candidates at that time are asked to relinquish the microphone. And I'm sure we have all gentlemen and ladies there, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. There's coffee and water in the back of the room. Please avail yourself at any time during the meeting. Restrooms are located out this door, down the hall, and to the right. There will be no intermission. All candidates have been given this format ahead of time, so I ask them to use their time wisely and to keep to the allotted time. Thank you, candidates. Questions will be asked in random order. What we're going to do, very simply, we have a couple bowls up here. One bowl has all the questions in it. Another bowl has the candidate's name. We're going to draw a candidate's name, Sally Smith. Then we're going to draw a question and say, Sally, this is your question. When that gets answered, the candidate's name will be put aside, and the next candidate's name will be drawn. Again, another question. When all 9 candidates had a chance on the first round to answer a question, all 9 numbers go back into the jar and we start a second round. Candidates, you okay with that? You all understand what we're doing? Okay. Let's start with our first question. Oh, yes. Yeah, let's not get into the questions right away. We're going to start here with Phil Birdshaw, and we'll go right down the line. You have 3 minutes each to introduce yourself and explain why you're running for the board.
Well, good evening. Let me get the mic. Hi, my name is Phil Birdsall.
Please stand up so that we can see you back here.
I'll stand up so you can see me back there. You want me to continue to stand? Well, I can do that. I will say to you that we had an agreement that we would not stand, so I'm willing, but I would defer to the rest as that comes up. So let me begin. I first thought about running for the board because several of my friends and acquaintances independently said to me, we think you would be a good board member. And then I took a look back at what I have done over the years in my volunteering, and just like you, most of you, I have volunteered all of my career, and I realized that almost all of my volunteer work was involved in municipal affairs, which are very similar to the community club affairs. And so, having done that, I thought, okay, I'm still thinking about it. Then I spent a lot of time thinking about the criteria that I would be looking for if I was voting for somebody else. And I came up with 5 criteria. Number 1, skill set. Number 2, experience. Number 3, leadership. Number 4, integrity. And number 5, temperament. Now, I don't have any time to tell you why I meet those criteria. I wouldn't bore you anyway, and it'd be awfully self-serving. All you have to know is there's at least one person here that believes that I do have those traits. And on a really good day, my wife. I want to speak about temperament, though, very briefly, because you may not know what that is. Temperament, among other things for me, means the ability to listen to people and the ability, if necessary, to look somebody in the eye and say, I'm sorry, I do not agree with you. And do so with respect, with courtesy, without being abrasive, and without being condescending. Now, I also looked at reasons why somebody might be running for the board that don't apply to me. And I want you to know what those are. I'm not running because I have an agenda. I'm not running because I have an axe to grind. I'm not running because I think the community club is dysfunctional. I'm not running because I think the community club is going in the wrong direction. I'm not running because I think the board is incompetent. And I'm not running because I think the board has not. Add that time back on. I'm not running because I think the board has not been acting in the best interest of the community over the last few years. I'm not running because I've had a run-in with the general manager. And I'm not running because I heard third party from somebody that they had a run-in. The reason I'm running, 3 reasons. I believe in stewardship. What that means is you appreciate the gifts you have, you protect them, and you try to advance them whenever you can. I'm running because, for me, selfishly, this is the best place for me to give back to the community. Is that two? Third reason, I'm just running because I simply think I can make a difference, a positive difference.
Good evening. I'm Dennis Monson. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. I was born in Idaho Falls, Idaho. Went to Duke University in North Carolina to graduate school. Got a master's degree in physical therapy. Fell in love with the South. I love the pace. I love the blooming trees. I love the wildflowers that blossom. Most importantly, I love the people. Have decided to stay in the state of Tennessee for most of my adult life. I may be the only one on the panel that has...
Would you please stand up? We want everybody to stand up because I'm short. I can't see.
It's a little dangerous up here. We don't have a big platform, and I understand somebody on the panel really can't, but I will try. After graduate school at Duke University, we moved to Tennessee, to Knoxville. Following that, had numerous different things that happened. I became financial chairman of the Tennessee Physical Therapy Association. Shortly after that, I became treasurer for 2 elected terms at the geriatric section of the American Physical Therapy Association, which is a national organization. I've had my own physical therapy company. We had 42 employees. During that period of time, I learned management skills, budget skills. I was writing contracts for clients as well as for employees. Did a number of different things. We set and balanced budgets. It was important to do all of those types of things, and we were able to make a profit. I had no committees, no subcommittees. It was a matter of taking care of all of those types of things by myself. For the last 20 years or so, I've been doing primarily home health care, where you go into a home and you assess the situation, the patient's limitations, the patient's goals, and then you design a program to accomplish all of those types of things. That requires one-on-one conversation. It also requires listening. It also requires a lot of things that this community is desirous to have. And then you go about setting things, and most of those people got better. I've been a property owner since 2012, a resident since 2015. I have 2 adult children in Knoxville. My 2 grandchildren are in Knoxville. My wife is from Crossville, and her 2 children and 3 grandchildren are here. We're not going anywhere. We don't go anywhere for 6 months during the winter. We are here year-round, and so we're able to take care of those kinds of things.
Okay. Thank you, Dennis. Steve, will you introduce yourself?
My name is Steve Smith. I have lived here, my wife and Sharon and I have lived here for the past 13 years. Our family's been involved with Fairfield Glade for over 36 years. Why do I want this job, or why do I want to continue in this job? Because I'm presently a member of the board. I was a parliamentarian on the board for the first year, and then I've been the board vice president for the last 2 years. I really want to give back to the community. I enjoy what I'm doing. I enjoy the community. I believe very strongly in our mission statement, vision statement, and I think we're headed in the right direction. And I think that with the board we have right now and the team we have put together, we can continue to move ahead. In my bio, I said that I found the membership of the board or being on the board both a challenge and rewarding. And then I thought, well, you know, maybe people don't quite understand what that means. So this afternoon, I put together some of the challenges and the rewards that we faced. Oh, scared me. We had the Dorchester Clubhouse falling down Challenge. What do? We build a new one. $1.5 million. That's scary. Reward, everybody thinks it's a great decision. Everybody loves the facility. Stonehenge, bunkers, they were awful. Our premier golf course. Challenge, the Billy Better bunker system. I'll say that 10 times fast. Again, a big expense. Is it worth it? We put the bunkers in. Now, everybody that lives here still hates Stonehenge, but they all love the bunkers. The bunkers are great. The atrium in the clubhouse at Stonehenge. Leaked, had to cover it with a tarp to keep the residents dry. What do? Challenge. We spend a lot of money, but we put an outdoor porch that's covered. One of the greatest places in the Glade to eat. The view's outstanding. Everybody loves it. Hate to go there. Pickleball. First challenge is trying to figure out what it was. Second challenge was, what do we do about it? We spent close to $400,000 on a pickleball complex. It's being used. That's part of the reward. I have personally met 6 newcomers that moved here simply because we have outdoor pickleball courts. There are other types of challenges that we face, and the advantage is everything we have accomplished is paid for. There is no new debt. We have not had to borrow any money, and our dues are relatively reasonable. Other types of challenges may be, you know, there's sort of people out there say we're on the verge of financial ruin. If you were at today's board meeting, you heard from our director of finance that in reality, we are very sound financially. Thank you. I hope I can continue to work with you.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is John Byers. Marcia and I moved here about 9 years ago from Florida. We are halfbacks, and we love it here. Throughout the campaign, many of the people have asked, why are you running for the Fairfield Glade Board? My answer is philosophical differences, and I believe in a different direction. To be clear, I am pro-transparency, pro-fiscal growth, against waste, and despite what people are saying, I believe it's time that we learn to run our amenities effectively and not close them. Today, the board lacks transparency. The strategic planning and finance committees are closed to residents. You read about financing or refinancing the Stonehenge debt in the paper and have no input on capital expenditures. I support the Tennessee the open meeting law, where most meetings are open to the public and where the voice of the people can be heard and respected. It currently appears that many believe that if you say it often enough, it becomes true. Our example, our amenities are not losing money. It is merely an accounting misinterpretation. I refer you to the club members' website, where you can find in 2014 through 2016 the audited financial data. In those years, the club lost $4.4 million, and the food and beverage services and the CCC represent 77% of those losses. Food and beverage and the CC losses through June of this year have been $500,000 and $544,000 respectively. It is time to stop covering the losses with dues increases and trying to justify the losses using Florida club data. It is time to fix the problems. I philosophically disagree with the club management when it says if you allow residents to vote on projects, you will never get anything done. We say the club is blessed. We have many gifted residents, and if we were to ask their involvement, it may take a little longer to get something done, but I think we would all benefit from that. One of the candidates says fiscal responsibility should not mean saying no to progress and to the future. The Fairfield Glade Community Club, there are no limits to good ideas. However, what fiscal restraints do mean is prioritizing our wants and our needs addressing the needs first, and then addressing the wants, and doing both with within fiscal limits. Thank you.
I'm Ralph C. We moved here in 2003. I have a degree, a master's degree in business, and I hope to use part of that experience to be a good board member. Why I want to be a board member? Because I like to give something back to the community or the organizations that I belong to. I like to participate in any organization that I would belong to. Some of the things that I am concerned about is respect. We need to respect our board as we respect our firemen and our police people. We also need to respect our residents. Respect is a two-way street. We need to be able to listen to what the residents have to say. We don't necessarily have to agree with everything, nor do we have to agree with everything the board has to say. But we need to respect those opinions so that we can at least work together to make this a great community. The other thing that I would like to see the board do is part of the communications things, is to publish an agenda on the club's website so that we know what the board has got to go on their meetings, so that if we have a problem with a situation, we can go to that meeting and participate in the discussion about it. I thank you for your time. Appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Oliver Dossman. I am originally from Paris, France, and I'm told that I only portray an accent when I'm nervous. So if you hear a little accent, that's why. Thank you for this opportunity. My wife and I and our 4 young children have lived here for 4 years, and we very much love Fairfield Glade. I own a computer company back near Memphis, and also am the president, the founder of a nonprofit organization at which I'm a full-time volunteer here, just located just a few minutes from Fairfield Glade. The reason I'm running for the board is because I believe that the future of Fairfield Glade is incredibly bright. And I am very impressed with how the club has progressed over the last 6 years. And I'm looking specifically at the last 6 years. And if you have served, or if you are serving on the board today, or if you are a member of the management team today, then I thank you. Because I think if we look at the last 6 years, what has happened here in Fairfield Glade is nothing short of remarkable. If you think about all of the improvements that we have seen here in Fairfield Glade, if you think about the fact that our dues have only increased by a couple of dollars every year with no special assessments for capital projects, if you look at the debt level, which has decreased significantly over the last 6 years, then I think it's fair to say that we are on the right track. And I disagree with the notion that our amenities are losing money. They are not losing money. And so that's something that I hope we can get into a little bit further as we answer questions later. But I think we're on the right track. And I think if you think about the amenities that have been upgraded or built in the last 6 years, not all of us use all of those amenities. That's fair to say. We might build a pickleball court, or we might upgrade something on the golf course, or all of those updates. Those are all great, and not all of us are going to agree with those, because not all of us are going to use or see the value in those. But I think we are a resort community. As the word implies, as a community, we have to look for the benefit of the whole. And so when something happens, a new amenity is being updated, even if I'm not going to use that amenity, I'm happy for that, because I know that others will benefit from that. And so I think our future is extremely bright. And my position as a candidate is to be positive, to be bold about the future, to be excellence-driven, that everything we do will be done with excellence, and to be future-directed, so that as we go into the future, we will be in a stronger position than we are today. At the end of the day, what matters is our property values. That's one of the key factors, and we want our property values to be maintained and to be increased over time. And so it's very important that we invest wisely in our future. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you very much for coming tonight. And I will stand up for you, but it doesn't make a lot of difference. If you have had a chance to read my bio, then you know that my husband Sid and I moved here to Tennessee in 2004. What you don't know is that we have never left Michigan before now, but we have never looked back and we have never regretted our decision. We were amazed at how friendly the people were here. We loved the mild climate, the 4 seasons, and the lowered cost of living. And at this point, we intend to stay here for the rest of our lives. And because of that, I want to do my part to keep Fairfield Glade as active and attractive as it is now, and to continue to improve, update, and maintain this community so that other people will want to come and live here too. Most of us here are retired from our previous choice careers, and so we have a lot of time on our hands. And several of us have chosen to volunteer or take a position with Fairfield Glade or just make use of the recreational facilities. But mostly we're doing the things we've always wanted to do and never had the time to do before. Because this is a resort as well as a community, we are provided with lots of opportunities in how to spend that time. Perhaps not as many as some other places, but they fit my needs. I don't need to hobnob with 120,000 people in order to be happy. I'm very content with our 6,000 to 8,000 that we have here. So are we perfect? No. There is room for improvement. We may need more improvements in the future, and will they cost money? Yes, probably they will. And will that raise our HOA dues? Well, I certainly hope not, and I bet you do too. Actually, with the cost of living going up, inflation, increasing cost of supplies, it's likely to increase somewhat. But if I'm elected, I will do all in my power to keep that raise to a minimum. But please, most importantly, keep in mind, if we stand still and do not make changes or repairs or upkeep, we can only go downhill. And none of us want to see Fairfield Glade fail. This is our home. We want to continue to attract visitors, potential home buyers, and timeshare visitors, because their dollars support and defray the costs for our amenities. My plan, my platform, and my agenda is to be fiscally responsible, keeping Fairfield Glade as one of the 50 best retirement choices in the U.S. I ask for your vote.
Thank you. I'm the one who can't stand up, so I'm going to just do my introduction and then I'm going to sit down, please. I want to thank you all for being here. I especially want to thank all those who have worked on our campaign so hard along with us. Amen. Can't hear me? Is that better? Again, I want to thank everybody on my campaign that has worked with John and I so diligently to get this far in the campaign. With that, I will sit down, please. I want to recognize and publicly thank Rusty McClanahan for his marvelous article about how they chose the Glade as their home. His withdrawal and endorsement of John and myself was a real class act and a plus for us. My bio has been published, and I don't want to take time on it, but it reflects 35 years of management experience, ending with my retirement as CEO and president of a manufacturing company. This election is so important to the future of Fairfield Glade property owners and timeshare owners. All of their involvement in this election is so important. And timeshare owners contribute 18% of our revenue, so they are indeed important. John and I are philosophically different with the board. It's going to sound a lot the same. Transparency, communications, resort versus retirement, and the direction we're going financially. We are for open meetings, town halls, face-to-face, two-way communications. Resort versus retirement, it's very simple. Our charter says we are Fairfield Glade Community Club, and now, with the revised charter, Wyndham is the resort. End of discussion. I have nothing against Wyndham. They are a for-profit company. If they can get someone else to spend money, it means more profit for them. The problem is not Wyndham. Upkeep of our existing infrastructure, fire, police, emergency response, building, roads, sewers, grounds, and existing amenities should be our first responsibility. An example, our roads. In 2014, roads were given 5% of the revenue. In 2015 through 17, they're getting 3.3%. That drop has cost our road programs $860,000 in 3 years. The losses at the CCC and the food and beverage have totaled $3.4 million in 3 years, and we definitely need to eliminate or greatly reduce those. The key issue in talking about how we're doing.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Your time is up, Tom. Thank you. It goes fast, doesn't it?
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. My name is Jack Linhart, or John, either way. I beg your indulgence while I'm reading to you, but to make the most efficient use of my 3 minutes, I need to read to you. I'm not much of a politician. I'm not throwing any wine and cheese parties like Tom here is, but I would be happy to talk to any of you over a beer anytime. My wife, Rosemarie, and I have lived in Fairfield Glade for 4 years now, and we are really enjoying this community. We were both born and lived most of our lives in the city of Chicago, where we raised our 2 daughters. I had a very satisfying career as a civil engineer. I worked both in the public and private sectors. I worked for the city of Chicago for 10 years, the U.S. Department of Transportation for 4 years, and for various consulting engineering firms for the final 28 years of my career. My professional work was primarily in the planning, design, and construction of public transportation projects. If you ever flew into Chicago and took the CTA train downtown, then you experienced one of my projects. For the past 4 years of my career, the firm I was working for relocated us to California to work on some rail projects there. Rosemarie and I bought a home in Oakmont Village, an over 55 community in Sonoma County. Oakmont Village has some similarities to Fairfield Glade. It has 2 nice golf courses, a struggling food operation, several recreational facilities that are showing their age. I served on the Capital Improvements Committee there the last year we were there. It was a gorgeous place to live in wine country about an hour north of San Francisco. Unfortunately, it was also a very expensive place to live. We had a large mortgage. We're paying over $500 a month in real estate taxes and over $300 a month in HOA dues. So when it came time to retire, we knew we had to find a more affordable location. After much research, we sold our house, called the movers, packed our 2 cats and a litter box in our minivan, and drove the 2,400 miles from Sonoma, California to Crossville, Tennessee. I believe my education, engineering experience, and past exposure to retirement and resort-style communities can benefit the types of decisions the board of directors needs to make. I'm sure every candidate here would promote open communications and fiscal responsibility as a member of the board. One area I would focus on is procurement. Since the club undoubtedly procures hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of goods and services, I think this is an area of concern.
Okay, thank you, Jack.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before we get started on the questions, I neglected to introduce the election committee. To my far right is Neil, and he's our timekeeper. Neil, you need to get a bigger dinger or something. Okay, we have Bill, who's going to be drawing the questions and selecting the candidates. And then I have my bodyguard here, Don, who's going to make sure if anything's thrown up here, he's going to jump and knock it out of the way. So we have 3 members that aren't here. They couldn't make it tonight. But there were 6 members in our election committee, and I'll let you know they worked real hard. Oliver, you get to be the first one. As a director of Fairfield Glade Community Club, what action and leadership role would you take to assure that any and all proposed growth ideas that outstrip the present capabilities of the highly rated and regarded Fairfield Glade Volunteer Fire Department are squashed before they gain any traction?
I'm going to have to take some of my 2 minutes to hear that again, if I may.
Yeah, no problem. I wish I could tell you what it says myself. Okay. As director of Fairfield Glade Community Club, what action and leadership role would you take to assure that any and all proposed growth ideas that outstrip the present capabilities of the highly rated and regarded Fairfield Glade Volunteer Fire Department are squashed before they gain any traction?
Okay, thank you for that fine question. Thank you. So, well, let me say a couple of things about the fire department first. First of all, we appreciate them very, very much. If anybody here is a volunteer fire department, absolutely. We thank you. Thank you very much. Police department as well. We're very, very grateful. Obviously, very important aspects. Yes. Very, very important aspects of safety. Living here in Fairfield Glade, as we've said before, it's beautiful, it's affordable, it's all those things, but it's also safe. And so we very much appreciate their work. In terms of, if I understand the question correctly, and I'm not 100% sure that I do, how does that fit in with other aspects of expenses and maybe capital projects and things like that? I think certainly there's got to be a balance between improvements such as capital improvements and building new amenities or maintaining amenities, while in my opinion it is very, very important to maintain the police force and the fire force as well. So I think those are very, very important. In terms of how that fits in together, honestly, I'm not really sure that I understand the question, but I will say that as a board member, it is our responsibility to listen to all of the members, to consider all of the needs of the community. And as I said earlier, not everyone is going to agree with everything. There are going to be some expenses that some members are going to say, what a waste of money, we shouldn't have done that. But maybe that very expense is something that someone else would say, that's the very reason why I'm going to move to Fairfield Glade. And for every person that moves to Fairfield Glade, that in the long term improves our property values. And that is the bottom line in any discussion that we have, is how does it affect our property values in the long term? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jack, this is for you. And believe it or not, Jack, this is only one long sentence. What committees have you worked on in the community club, and what did those committees achieve?
Well, that's a lot simpler than the last question. I think that. I am currently serving on the Lakes Committee. We live on Lake Kirkstone, And this is my third year on the Lakes Committee, and it's been a very eye-opening experience. Especially is the range of talent we have in this community. We have some environmental experts, we have aquatic experts, we have some amazing management people. It's just been a really terrific opportunity for me to get acquainted with some of the issues of the committee. And I can happily report that our lakes are in excellent condition. The water quality is very high. The fish populations are growing, and the Bass Club is very happy. So it's been a great experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. John Byers, this is for you. You have a mic, John? Are you in favor of increasing the HOA, if necessary, to meet future demands and growth?
That's a tough question to answer. First of all, I think we have to look at a couple things. In the businesses that I come from, predominantly automotive and manufacturing, if expenses exceed revenue, you have two options. Option one is to increase revenue. The second one is to reduce expenses. I think from my earlier comments, you probably gather that I'm more in line with reducing expenses than I am, or effective use of the equipment and the assets that we have, than increasing revenue. I'm not saying I wouldn't consider increasing revenue, but it would be a long time before I ever looked at that, at increasing revenue, because I think there are significant advantages and significant areas that we need to be looking at to reduce expenses before we start talking about increasing revenue. Thank you.
Steve Smith. Do you support Fairfield Glade property owners providing guest passes to associates and customers in their private business?
Yes. It generates business for the club. I think we've all been in a position where if a guest comes in, that guest does not golf or use our facilities at a member rate, they pay a higher rate. And I think the more people we can get to use our amenities, the better it is for the community club. So I have no problem with that.
Okay, thank you. Phil, are you ready? You got a mic? No. Oh boy, you got one here. Our general manager said recently that if we could get the food and beverage losses down to $200,000 annually, he would be satisfied. What level of losses would satisfy you?
You can't answer that question without understanding something about the amenities. I mean, my answer is simple. If we could break even, wonderful. If we could minimize them, wonderful. For me to establish a specific figure, 50,000, 100,000, 300,000 is a little bit absurd. But the food and beverage operation does have operating losses, and it is a concern for all of us. My points on that are pretty simple. First of all, it is not appropriate to look at any amenity in a vacuum. Our amenities are a package. They exist for a reason, and they need to be evaluated as a package. A couple of years ago, no one knew there was an issue with the food and beverage operation. The board knew it. The board undertook the project to analyze it, look at it, and they disclosed that to everybody. And now it's a hot button, and perhaps it should be. The board continues to look for ways that those operating losses can be reduced to a more meaningful and acceptable level, and I suspect they'll accomplish that to some extent. Some amenities are simply loss leaders. Some amenities don't generate revenue. I would want to get up to speed on this issue just as quickly as possible. I want to know every fact that they've developed to date, and I would move forward from there. I found something out today, though, that was interesting to me. After it's all said and done, guess how much money comes out of your homeowner's fees to balance the budget as it respects the food and beverage operation per month? Less than a Happy Meal.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Jeannie, you'll have to stand up. After I read this, you may want to sit down. Are you in agreement that any developer interested in pursuing the Village Mall concept should bear the total expense of the project? Please explain your rationale.
Let's start with what's the purpose of a developer. A developer who comes to Fairfield Glade to upgrade what we're already doing, to make it more attractive, to make it more updated, new, and exciting for people to come here, and the attraction that it'll bring for visitors who come with a good feeling when they come to see the Village Mall, as opposed to coming and saying, oh, this is an old place and it's dying and it's wearing down. So I'm hoping a developer will come in and make those changes. We don't want the people to move. We don't want the businesses to move. We don't want it to come out of our pockets. We don't own the land. We're not responsible for the land. It's not part of what we pay for our HOA dues. So my understanding would be that the developer would pay for it. Now, would there be something involved with that that might become an amenity to us? Our amenities are what's here to attract us to come to this place to live. I would not come if it was another house on a street in the middle of a big city. But I use every one of the amenities that we have here, and I appreciate them, and I'm willing to pay for them within my means. I do not think that a town hall should be paid for by the members. We don't own that land. We're not upgrading our houses. But if something does happen, we need to consider it, because if it's amenity for us, we'll also be experiencing it and using it.
Okay, Tom, you think you're ready? This, if you knew Tom, this suits him perfectly. How will you address the unchecked speeding on our major streets, such as Peavine, Catoosa, Stonehenge, Lakeview Drive, and Westchester? The current plan is obviously not working.
You're right. I don't know why you picked me, but yeah. I think it's really got to be enforcement. Chief Williams has committed himself to address the speeding as much as possible. I've heard numbers of complaints about the speeding tickets that people have gotten and think that it's a cash generating thing for the club. I believe we need to maintain our speed limits. If you establish a speed limit, it should be enforced. If you don't observe it, then you should be ticketed. That's about as good an answer as I can give for that one. Thank you.
Okay, Ralph, you have a mic there?
I'm sorry.
I was talking to Ralph. When property owners do not pay their property taxes, the county, under the appropriation procedures, gets ownership. The county has deeded numerous lots back to the Fairfield Glade, and Fairfield Glade pays the property tax on the returned lots. What is your recommendation for the use of these properties?
Well, I think one of the things that we can do is put the properties up for auction. That we could sell them back to the community, to individuals. I know that we've sold lots of lots that were to developers, various developers. Some of them, of course, have caused us other financial difficulties where those developers haven't paid the taxes and come back. So but basically, I would return for auction.
I think we all know Dennis is the next person. Do you favor developing our community primary as a resort community or primary as a retirement community, and why?
I think that it's a valuable situation to become a resort community. It's a little bit of a combination, I think, of both. A lot of people have come here to retire. They come here to enjoy peace and quiet, get away from the big city. On the other hand, we need to continue to grow and develop. And I don't know what the terminology for that really is. I just like being here in Fairfield community and enjoying each other. And I think we can grow. I think we can progress. And I think we can do that with fiscal responsibility. I guess that would be my answer.
Okay, we're about to start the second round. All the names are put back into the jar. Again, we'll draw a name and a question. So most likely everyone will be in a different picking order this time. And the first person is Jeannie. Are you standing? I can't tell. How should revenue be generated and improved for the community club?
I believe that revenue for the community club comes from the use of the amenities by inviting people who don't live here to come visit us. When we have timeshare, when we have Wyndham Resort people come, they bring with them dollars that are not coming from our pockets, and we do not have to reimburse. And the friendlier we are, the more attractive our facilities and amenities are, the more people we will have come. And when they come, they love it, and they move in. And until we get to 120,000, we probably can continue to have people come and stay with us. While we don't want to be that big, but I think it's the people from the outside and attracting people, which our very own marketing person, Mary Jo Page, has done such a great job, because the people down in the villages, which we are not like at all, because that's not the kind of living we want to live, or we wouldn't be here, they are coming up to visit us because we're cooler and we have better weather, and we are having the same quality at 1/10 of what they enjoy down there. And when people come from the outside, they leave their dollars behind and they want to come back.
Okay, Ralph, do you have a mic there? Okay, for the properties that are not being maintained, what are your thoughts regarding resident/owner property maintenance and enforcement of existing covenants and restrictions?
That's always been a kind of a touchy subject with me about some of the ACC rules. I've done a lot of property improvements on my property, and I've had good relationship with the property. along with the being property manager of the church when we had to go to the ACC. So I think the properties that aren't maintained, the rules should be enforced. That it should be given warnings and given time to make the improvements. How much time is probably at least several months. I think most of the rules have been fair to keep the property values up. As most of the members up here say, we need to keep our property values up so that when the property needs to be sold, we will get good returns. Thank you.
Okay, Phil, this is yours. Do you propose to open all meetings of the strategic planning and the financial committees, as well as all others, to the membership?
All right, let me start with my answer, and then I'll explain it. My answer is no. And let me explain why. I'm going to focus on the Strategic Planning Committee and the Financial Planning Committee. First of all, these are committees created by the board. They're not committees created by the restrictive covenants. They exist at the pleasure of the board. They have no authority to bind the community club. They are there to generate an expertise in a particular area and make recommendations to the board. That's a technical answer because it means that the decision whether they should be open should be up to the board. But I go a step further. I look at it from a practical standpoint, and I'm not being facetious here at all. These committees are they're charged with generating a vision for the future. They have to brainstorm. They have to toss out ideas. And I am concerned, although I believe there ought to be a public comment segment of every committee, I am concerned that having the meetings open to the public will inhibit the free exchange of ideas among the members. And I want to put that in real terms. There's a sociological phenomenon in many communities, including ours. It is called the rumor. Which, by the way, if you didn't hear, the Stonehenge Grill has been sold. LOL. By the time the guys on the committee get to the first tee, whatever they've spitballed, whatever they've dreamed about, will have become a reality in the rumor mill. That's not a good way to go.
Okay, Oliver, this one I understand.
Oh, good.
Do you consider Fairfield Glade to be primarily a resort community or a retirement community?
Oh, that's a great question. Very good. I think we are a resort community. I think we are a community because we come from different geographical regions, different interests, different areas, and we all live together, so that makes us a community. But the truth is, whether we actually like it or not, we are a resort. We have a beautiful resort. We have a Wyndham operation. We have guests who come from all over the country, all over the region. And if I invite guests to visit me at my house, come over here and see us. I live in a retirement community. That is not the same as saying I live in a resort. A resort says who we are. Now, in practicality, we do have a lot of retirees here. I know I'm not one of them yet, but I will be one day. And so I do not believe that we are a retirement community, but I believe that we are a resort community. Also, for example, looking at golf in particular, 45% of our rounds of golf that are played here are played by non-members. That means that a vast quantity of our revenue, a vast amount of our revenue into golf comes from guests. They are coming here not because we are a retirement community. They're coming here because we are a resort community. Thank you.
You may notice some of these questions are similar, but we are asking as they were sent to us. We didn't, go through them or anything like that. So we're asking exactly as they were sent to us. So if they sound similar, that's the way it is. Tom Rigo. Would you explain your position on the current level of membership dues?
That's a good one. Let me just say, first off, we have a large retirement population. Can you hear that now? Sorry. We have a large population of retired people here who are on fixed incomes. One of our considerations in our dues should be that population. The inflation happens. Inflation has to be attended to. But we also, as a board member, have an opportunity to look at cost reductions in our operations. So I guess the simple answer to that question is the last resort is dues increases. Thank you.
Jack, this is yours. This one was so big that we had to put it on an 8.5 by 11. If I have to read it twice, Jack, let me know. As the director of Fairfield Glade Community Club, what action and leadership role would you take to stop plans and actions for the so-called village center? Because it is unwise, unneeded, and not in the best interest of Fairfield Glade residents who have ample shopping available in local and moderate distances for their limited needs, who are not clamoring for more office and restaurants, who do not want the additional traffic congestion which the project would bring, and thereby lower the quality of life standards in which Fairfield residents have been accustomed. Did you get all that? Please.
Okay. The gist of the question, I guess, is they don't want a village town center. My approach as a member of the board would be to listen first. Listen. What do the club members want? What has been experienced here in the past? What kind of proposals would we get from developers? When I was working in Chicago and we had to meet with developers, the first thing they told you was keep your hands on your wallet. But I have an open mind about this issue. It could be great for the Glade. It could not be great for the Glade. It all depends on how it's structured, especially financially. So my answer is I have an open mind, and I would like to learn much more about such a project from proposals from developers. Thank you.
Okay, Dennis. What do you feel is the most important draw for the community, and how do you expect to encourage new blood to move in?
Well, I don't know that we can come up with new things. I'm sure somebody's got some ideas. I came here for the primary purpose of playing golf and tennis. I think that of all of the areas that I've looked at, all the way from Indiana to North and South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, none of them have the facilities that we have here. I don't know that any area's got 5 golf courses, the quality that we have. I think nobody in the area has clay tennis courts or indoor tennis courts. We're fussing a little bit about the pickleball thing, but nobody has a pickleball facility like we do. I think perhaps the best thing to do would be to advertise those things, encourage those things. We are developing a hiking system, which will, I just think that we have a lot of the things covered that a lot of people really enjoy doing. And I think it's just a matter of advertising that to a greater number of people. I don't think we have too much trouble with having people move in. I'm on the ACC committee, and we have approved 48 houses so far this year. People are coming here. They find out about it, and they are coming. And I think that that's part of the marketing process that we are going through, and I think that it's fine.
Okay, Steve? Do you think it is proper for a member to request guest passes for those he or she does not know to gain access to our amenities for business reasons?
That was the same question I just answered.
We'll give you another one.
I can give it the same answer, yes. I mean,
we'll give you another one here.
well, I could, no, yeah, please, thank you.
Well, this is almost the same thing again. Do you support Fairfield Glade property owners using Fairfield Glade logo and stating that Fairfield Glade is a partner with their business on business websites when there is no such arrangement with Fairfield Glade?
Okay, that's a little different question, isn't it? And I know where that's coming from. Yeah, I personally, anytime we can get free advertisement, I mean, that's what it's all about, people. We're trying to get people here. And if we can get that logo out there and it isn't costing us anything to do it, I see no problem in it. It's a win-win situation for us. As far as the term partner, I look at that again as a marketing term. It doesn't mean that we've entered into a financial contract with anybody, but again, in this particular situation, I'm sure I know who what they're alluding to. This is a win situation for us. Our name's out there. More people see it, and I think that's a plus.
Okay, John Byers. Are you in favor of setting financial limits to the expenditures of the club for proposed amenity projects?
Well, again, that's a tough one to answer, but I'll answer it this way. I'm in favor of, for amenity projects, going out and getting competitive bids. Okay, and that's, to my knowledge, that is one of the things that we have not done, and we've not done very well. Okay, so I would be in favor of funding amenity projects under the right set of circumstances. I want to make one other comment here today, too, if I could. I'm talking about amenities for a second. Okay, earlier there was a conversation about what we are, a retirement community or a resort community. Let me just share with you some facts. Okay, we are the Fairfield Glade Community Club. The club consists of roughly 13,800 lots. 14% of those lots are owned by timeshare and by Wyndham. 86% of those lots are owned by residents and non-resident owners. And if you look at the most recent financial data in the published in the paper, you'll find that in 2016, 16% of our revenue came from timeshare and Wyndham resorts, and 84% or $15.6 or $15.1 million of that revenue came from Fairfield Glade Community Club and non-resident lot owners. Okay, so in terms of amenities, back to that for a second, golf is probably our single biggest one, and I would support significant investments in the golf community.
Okay, thank you, John. Okay, we are now going to start the third round. All the names are put back in, and this will be our last round tonight. They'll take the rest of the questions tomorrow. So, Steve, you get to start us off.
Answer is yes.
Okay.
I hope.
Wait till I read it. What is your position in Fairfield Glade amenities, golf, food, beverage, recreation, community center, etc., losing money? Should each and every amenity be solvent or subsidized?
Could I have the other one back? Amenities are here for the benefit and the pleasure of our members and our guests. Amenities, when you live in a community like ours, are different. For example, let's take a restaurant. Outside of Fairfield Glade, the restaurants are there to make a profit for the owner. Our amenities are here to make your life better. So and all our amenities, and I'm sure you all know this, or we don't hide it, all our amenities lose money. Golf loses money. Restaurants lose money. Now, am I pleased with the fact that our restaurants lose money, our food and beverage lose money? No. Our goal is we should try to break even as close as we can. That is the goal of amenities in a community like ours. I have done research and talked to other communities. They all face the same hurdles that we're facing. Amenities just don't make money. They're not geared that way. I talked to a guy the other day. He ran 3 upscale restaurants in Atlanta. His son now runs them. His comment to me was, you can't compare my upscale restaurants in Atlanta to what you guys do here, because a resort style amenity is a different ballgame.
Okay, Jeannie. As director of Fairfield Glade Community Club, what action and leadership role would you take to see that the newly widened Tennessee Highway 101 North Peavine Road is designated as a scenic highway, same as the recently widened Tennessee Highway 101 South Lantana Road?
My understanding is this has already been attempted, and that the crux of it is waiting on the Crossville County Commissioner. I want to say that the signs on Peavine Road before they were all torn down for the right-of-way are frustrating and not as beautiful as we'd like to see when people know they're coming to Fairfield Glade. We'd like that to be as gorgeous as the roads in Fairfield Glade. But we need to be aware that some of those signs were not in good maintained. Signage is important to help you find where you want to go. It's important to help new people know whom they can do business with. But I agree 100% that the signage was too much. Making it a scenic highway would be very nice because the signs would be gone. I've spoken with people concerning this. The realtors feel, or a realtor that I spoke with feels that unless you have a business on Peavine Road, you should not have a sign on Peavine Road. I can understand that completely. I understand that some signs are important because there are signs there for volunteering, and that sign on the way to Fairfield Glade has caused so many volunteers to go to the House of Hope and Threads of Hopes that they might not have even known about had they not seen that sign. So it's a good and bad. I think it needs to be curtailed, and I don't know about the scenic highway, but that's of interest to get that accomplished.
Okay, Phil, you're up again. What is your opinion of the vision of Fairfield Glade current driving actions? I'll repeat that again. It's just what it says. What is your opinion of the vision of Fairfield Glade currently driving actions?
Let me just talk. We are a top 50 resort retirement community in the country, or to be more accurate, a top 50 master planned community. We should aspire every day to be the absolute best that we can be. Will we be able to achieve that within financial constraints? In many cases, no. But we should never lose the vision to do the absolute best we can. Why? There are two things that are important, bottom line, for I think every one of us: quality of life and property values. That vision, that attempt to make this the best place in the world, can only enhance ultimately our property values because it will increase the demand for our homes. And I can only speak from myself, but I love this community because of the amenities, among other things. And I barely use the amenities. I'm not even a golfer. But boy, am I proud of the fact that I live in a community that is as pretty as this because of the natural beauty, but also because of what we have created here. And when I say we, I'm sure not talking about me, because I haven't contributed a thing yet. But we have accomplished a lot. We owe a lot of thanks to those who have had that vision in the past, and I don't want to see that vision go in any other direction except forward and upward.
Okay, Jack, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
What specific ideas do you have for the new additional sources of revenue to support Fairfield Glade, excluding increase in dues?
Well, that's a multifaceted question. The amenities fees, of course, could be increased, but I think we have a good balance here between community supported amenities and fee-based amenities. So I think it's a good balance we have. When we were in Oakmont in California, the dues, of course, were over $300 a month, but everything was paid for. You didn't have to pay for anything separately. So I think as a board, we would have to look at each of our amenities and the food and beverage operation, and see if we could increase revenues. But increased revenues is going to impact all of us, and we're not all the very rich people here. So that has to be tempered very closely. One idea I had was, could we invest in some type of a solar energy facility? This could save the community club money and possibly even the homeowners. The cost of solar energy has dropped 50% in the last 5 years. And we are in an ideal situation where it's more efficient on a larger scale. So, is this something we could look at? Yes, I think we could. Does it make sense for us? I don't know yet. We have to do our homework. But that's one idea that popped into my head, and I think it's something we could take a look at. Thank you.
Okay, Oliver. What, if any, capital improvements would necessitate raising homeowners' dues?
Oh, that's a good question. Very good. So the HOA dues play a big role in our revenue, and so does the pay-to-play concept that we enjoy. So as you all know, we operate as a well-balanced combination of POA dues that we all pay, currently $56 a month. And on the other hand, we have fees that we pay in order to use the amenities. So in regards specifically to the question, what would be reasonable reasons why we would raise our HOA dues? I think we'd have to look at the long-term impact of those investments. If, for example, there was an investment out there that we could make that we felt with reasonable certainty could help maintain or increase our property values, then the HOA due increase becomes insignificant to some extent if we get that money back because our property values are going up. So we have to consider the balance and look at the overall picture of what is coming in and how to balance the expenses within that. I would also say that it's very important for us to look at the overall financial picture and not just specific amenities. If you look at a specific amenity and you say, wow, that amenity is losing money, but it's not losing money because it was never intended to make money. An amenity would be like saying, or the argument would be like saying, well, I sure hope the new overpass we built a few years ago over I-40 for Peavine, I hope it generates money. Well, it doesn't generate money, but it's there for the benefit of the community as a whole, for all of the people that cross the interstate. So we have to look at the full picture and not just the HOA dues, and understand that the HOA dues are well balanced with the fees that are paid to use the amenities.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Tom? What do you consider the dominant characteristic of Fairfield Glade, a resident retirement community with resort-type amenities, or a resort community with retirement residencies?
Good question. I think I addressed that a little in my opening remarks as far as I got. In my opinion, Fairfield Glade Community Club is a retirement community. I have been a property owner here since '86, owned 4 different places. It wasn't until just a very few years ago that the designation resort started being attached to Fairfield Glade. Fairfield Incorporated Resorts was here, and there was a community club. I believe, as John said earlier, I think if I remember the numbers right, 84 or 86% is property owners and residents, and 18% or 16% comes from the actual timeshare operations. It's important to our revenue, but I firmly believe that we're a retirement community that shares amenities with a resort. That's been my opinion. It makes a big difference. When you start saying you're a resort, as it was said in the paper, developers spend large amounts of money in the hopes of increasing the sales of their property. We are supporting our homes with our dues. We don't need to be the piggy bank to add amenities for a resort. Thank you.
Okay, John Byers. Were you in favor of the club refinancing a balloon note for Stonehenge and also increasing the line of credit to $5 million? Explain your position.
The answer to that is no. Okay, and we can get into where the funds are, but currently we have something close to $6.5 million in cash to refinance the $1.4 million. My opinion was we should have paid that off. The refinance, if you carry that loan to term, it's going to cost us about close to $500,000 in interest. Okay, now, and so for that reason, I would have supported paying it off. Now, relative to the $5 million line of credit, I understand, in my line of business that I've been in, and my companies were doing over $600 million in revenue. So I understand carrying lines of credit. But the thing that is not the line of credit that bothers me so much. Looking at that, what does bother me is the fact that that $5 million line of credit can be turned into a fixed loan with no one's approval. Okay, and we could spend some time talking about that, but there is no approval required to convert that into a fixed loan. We, the residents, do not have an opportunity to review capital purchases. The only option we have is if there's a purchase of land, if it exceeds 5% of last year's revenue, we have an option to look at that and an option to vote, but we get no vote on anything else. Thank you.
Okay, Dennis, they already passed the mic to you.
I think I'm the last one again.
I don't think so. Is that the end? Yep.
Oh,
We got
I'm sorry.
one more, see?
All right.
Please explain your position on welcoming and soliciting members/owners' input/cooperation or collaboration before major decisions such as expansion, acquisitions, or decisions on spending more than $100,000.
More than $100,000.
Yes.
Isn't it $450 now?
The question is more than
Okay.
100.
Okay. I think that it's valuable that everybody has input on everything. It slows things down, and to some degree that's not necessary. I think there comes a time when you trust the board. I think there comes a time when you trust people that you've elected to the position to make decisions that are proper, to make decisions that are valuable to the community. I heard this morning from President Diller that 7 to 6 years ago, this community was in desperate need, both financially, infrastructure, and other sorts of ways. And because of the board and the way they have acted in that 6 or 7 years, we have cut the debt at least in half, and we have improved all of the infrastructure, and we now have brand new buildings such as this one and others in the community. We may be still in debt, but I think that we are progressing in the proper direction, and I think you have to trust the board to continue on and to continue in that direction, and that's what I would do if I'm a member of the board.
Okay, Ralph, you're the last one. Are you ready? This is another 8.5 by 11 question. As director of Fairfield Glade Community Club, what action and leadership role would you take to retain the existing moderate growth rate of home building in Fairfield Glade until such time as availability, utility facilities, water, sewer, electric, and gas, and major recreational facilities, golf courses, and lakes are first increased to accommodate the higher level of usage at which current management seems to be aiming? You want me to read that again?
No, that's fine. When I moved here in 2003, I believe the houses were being built at about the rate about 200 a year. Thanks to some of the recession that was cut back. And when I was chair of the Government Liaison Committee, I used to attend the Upper Cumberland Gas meetings, and I would also attend the Water Board meetings. Most of those utilities had sufficient resources, except for Upper Cumberland, which was bought by Middle Tennessee Gas. And when, of course, Middle Tennessee Gas now has more than significant resources to add to the utilities to this community. So I don't really see growth as a problem compared to what it was back when I first moved here. As one gentleman just mentioned, right now we're probably building about 100 new houses a year. So I don't see utilities being a problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ralph. That now concludes the town hall meeting But the candidates have agreed to spend 45 minutes speaking directly to any property owner regarding any specific question. There will also be slips of paper at the doors that you can write any question you may want to put in the fishbowl for tomorrow. Fill them out, place them in the fishbowl either tonight or tomorrow when you return. I want to thank you all for coming, especially property owners. Thank you, candidate. Thank you, candidates, for everything you have done. Hope to see everybody tomorrow at 6 o'clock, same place, same time. Thank you.